Oh, okay. Would you want me to go back and I should go on?
Yeah, please go back. Sorry.
Okay.
We paused the recording.
Okay. All right. So I was just saying that this is the discussion for today, how to implement the new CPD guidelines as professionals. The implementation of guidelines typically comes with the council, but I guess that the organizers of this CPD wanted us to look at these three key things. What is the motivation for it? Why? What does what fit? And then how do we become informed in selecting CPDs going forward? Now, and I've decided to focus on three things. Number one, give us a background to why CPD and lifelong learnings are important and the benefits thereof and the principles that underpin that. And then come down to the Allied Health Professions Council. As far as I can remember, it's only a recent creation of the law. It was passed in 2013. And I'll try to recollect the history that we've had with CPDs in Ghana so far, as Allied Health professionals are concerned. And then we'll now look at the new guidelines. We'll actually look at the guidelines itself and look at each activity and try to situate each activity under one of the three categories. Unfortunately, well, there are still some uncertainties about some activities, but at least for the most part, we can determine where each activity sits. And then I'll open the discussions for all of us to contribute to. Now, so we are clear, the definitions of CPDs and lifelong learning have been established. How do I, 1 minute, please. Okay. Okay, I'm not sure why this is not hiding. All right.
Yeah, please, what do you need?
The
highlight.
The tags bar is not hiding. I don't know, but it's fine.
Okay. Yeah, so please go to the more and click on hide floating meaning.
Hide floating controls. Excellent. Thank you. Okay. So as I was saying, CPDs or continuing professional development is the way in which you continue to learn and develop throughout your career. So as professionals, we do this to develop throughout our career. And the literature suggests that it is essential and it adds to our skills, our knowledge, our identity, and also allows us to determine the ways in which we can think so that we can stay up to date and provide safe and effective practice for our clients and ourselves, presently and in the future. They must understand that we need to practice safely so that we don't get into unnecessary legal tussles. Now, so CPD is the idea to ensure that is happening. Now, lifelong learning typically refers to formal or informal learning opportunities, which sorry about that. So I was saying the lifelong learning refers to learning opportunities which can be formal, as in classroom settings or structured settings, or informal, which is self-learning routines. That is one of the examples of informal learnings, which helps you to continuously develop and improve your knowledge and skill so that you can maintain your employment and achieve personal fulfillment. So these are the two definitions of the two words that we are using together. Now, some way, somehow, these two terms are used together or sometimes to mean the same thing. Now, nutrition and dietetics is a career of lifelong learning, a career where you are expected to continue to develop and improve on the knowledge.
Hello, Dela.
Yes.
This is RD Wise. I see a lot of chats, people complaining they can't hear you. So
you can't hear me.
Yeah. So I suggest you turn off your video probably to improve the bandwidth from your end.
Okay,
Yeah. Thank you.
thank you. 1 minute. Okay, so now how do I pull back the hidden thing?
I've put your video off so you can go on.
How do I pull back you have put it off? Okay, that's fine.
Yes, I'll put it on.
Okay. Now, so please, can you hear me now?
Stanley,
Yeah.
Stanley, can you hear now? Let me know it in the chat, please.
Loud and clear.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you very much. So just so that I suddenly can pick up what I was saying before, I was trying to distinguish between continuing professional development or continuous professional development and lifelong learning. And I'm saying that lifelong learning can be formal or informal, and it basically refers to how we continue to read, to learn, and to improve on our knowledge and skills, and so that we can perform adequately with evidence in our professions or in our careers. And continuous professional development refers to it's also a learning process, which also adds to our skills, adds to our knowledge, and adds to our identity, professional identity. And then in the case, the end goal of CPDs are so that we can provide safe and effective practice for ourselves and for our clients. So those are the two terms that we are working with. And now I was adding that we basically work, these two terms tend to be used simultaneously or to be used together because they end up in one thing: improve learning, improve knowledge, and improve practice. Now, the BBA, which is our colleague from UK, has this definition for CPDs. It says that it is important because professionals, CPD is how we maintain and develop throughout our career to ensure that we retain our capacity to practice safely, effectively, and the key word here is legally within the evolving scope of practice. So yes, our practice is not static. A few years ago, the standard recommendation for diabetics were that they should not eat sugar at all. In fact, you shouldn't even touch the sugar. A few years down the line, we noticed that, oh, okay, the sugar is a concern, but it is more of the refined sugars. Of course, there is sugar, which is in terms of its complex sugars and refined sugars. So we need to look at refined sugars. Now we are able to look more at the whole diet concept so that you can even effectively and efficiently provide some sugar to persons living with diabetes, and you will still be able to manage that client's glucose levels very well. Now, so I'm just demonstrating to you that the information that we have changes with time. And we are aware that there is a cliche that suggests that the body of evidence doubles every 7 years or so. And already, if you did a quick search of there is some feedback. Is it from my end? There's some feedback. Okay, I think that's, thank you very much. So, like I was saying, my thing is frozen. Okay, like I was saying, so we do that so that we can provide legal practice, legal and safe practice. Now, once you think of legal, you should understand that we work within a legal framework. Now, I've said this before, but the idea is so that we can have CPD and lifelong learning so that we can improve our services and how they are even delivered. In a few years back, I remember that discussion that CPD event very well. where we asked a question: can diabetics eat cassava, for example? Now, that is information that with time, I think we have a consensus on that. But before then, we knew that what we knew was diabetics only eat, in fact, and that was unfortunately the standard recommendation over time. Diabetics should eat unripe plantains. Now we moved on to, yes, you can tolerate cassava and even eat it in fufu, even though we would look at the glycemic load and glycemic index conversations. So the point I'm driving at is that CPD is what helps us to develop our skill sets, to improve on them, our knowledge base, and to also deliver effective services for our clients. Now, usually in all other jurisdictions that I am aware of, these CPD are requirements, and it's the responsibility of the professional to ensure that they meet the minimum requirements so that their regulatory bodies or professional bodies, depending on which one is in charge of regulating them, can continue to accredit them for continuous practice. So what it means is that, and Ghana is not too different. I would explain to you soon. Now, the Academy of Medical Royal Colleges suggest some core principles for what CPD should be. It should be an individual's responsibility. You and I are responsible for ensuring that we are improving on our knowledge. We cannot continue to see our patients with the same information that we had when we were training, because information changes. In fact, as a matter of fact, in every new research, the foundations of science is tested and challenged. And sometimes what we have held as true becomes untrue. And then we are forced to go back to revise our recommendations. Recently, I was engaged in a discussion and somebody asked me, why is it that you nutritionists and dietitians, today you say this, tomorrow you say the opposite? And then we needed to explain to the fellow that the reason is because the evidence, we were working with the evidence, and the way you know the evidence has changed, if you take personal responsibility to ensure that you have learned what is new in the evidence. Now, the other thing is that CPDs or professional development programs need to emphasize reflection. So it is not just about sitting in the CPD activity and participating. No, it's also that you sit in the activity and you reflect on the new knowledge as against what you previously know or you have previously known, so that you can update what you have and you can apply the new knowledge. Because then you can have knowledge is one part, but application is another. And the process between knowledge and application is the reflective practice that goes with it. Now, as the profession evolves, the CPDs tend to improve our scope of work, or to refine our scope of work, or to sometimes define what you can and cannot do. At present, not many nutritionists or dietitians pass NG2 because in our context, that is not something we will do, or we are allowed to do. In other jurisdictions, nutrition is the principal responsibility of the medical nutrition therapist, or if you like, the dietitian or the clinical nutritionist. And so passing an NG tube is one of the critical skill sets that you must have as a practitioner. So that defines the scope of work and what we can and cannot do. And then in Ghana and elsewhere, there's an annual appraisal. So that's what we do when we submit our CPD accumulations to the Allied Health Professions Councils. And then again, what the rest of them I will explain over time. What is missing is the employer's responsibility, because continuous professional development is actually the responsibility of both the practitioner and his or her employer. Now, what it means is that the employer has a role to play to ensure that its employees have improved knowledge. I am not too sure how widespread the employer support is for practitioners or nutritionists and dietitians acquisition of CPDs, But that is also a core principle. Now, this is just a key, one of the key messages that the Academy of Medical Royal Colleges promote. And I want to just emphasize the part of individual responsibility and importance of reflection. Now, so this is for doctors, but it applies to all health professionals. So doctors have a responsibility for their own learning and for recording continuing professional development that has educational value. So it is our responsibility to ensure that we improve on our knowledge. That is the fundamental thing. If you didn't get anything from these discussions that we are going to have today, at least remember this one thing, that it is our responsibility as individual practitioners to improve our own knowledge. And the way to do that is to do it through continuous professional development or lifelong learning. And it is also our responsibility to record the learning experiences and reflect on the things that we have learned and how it applies to what we already know and what we are doing. That is the two things I want to highlight on this slide. Now, recently, just this year, in May this year, this document was published in the UK, and the principles for continuing professional development and lifelong learning in health and social care. Now, what the healthcare practitioners in UK basically did was to have an interdisciplinary committee to come together and develop guidelines for how health workers all across should approach continuous professional development and lifelong learning. And I particularly highlight this section that the Allied Health Group in the UK put in the acknowledgements section. They say that the Allied Health Professions Federation, which is the UK's equivalent of the Allied Health Ghana, the Federation of Allied Health Professions in Ghana, they have reviewed these documents and offered their full support of the principles for continuing professional development and lifelong learning in health and social care. Now, so what it means is that in the UK, and in fact, not just the UK, across the world, in Australia, in Canada, in Japan, there are so many examples of established continuous development and lifelong learning requirements across the globe. So the point I'm trying to make is that allied health professionals are not immune from seeking to achieve continuous professional development and lifelong learning, because that is what our professions require. And also, it is not just that we are doing it because somebody is mandating us to do it. We are doing it because it should be a personal responsibility to achieve the minimum required CPD. As a matter of fact, the minimum required CPD point is just to ensure that everybody gets a valid license to practice or to hold him or herself as professionals in the year ensuing. Now, this document proposes 5 principles, and I want to go through them one by one. The first principle is that each person's lifelong learning is each person's personal responsibility and be made possible and supported by the employer. So again, the aspect of personal responsibility is profound. It cannot overemphasize that. Now, the lifelong learning or the CPDs that we participate in as individuals is not just for the sake of doing it. It is actually for the benefit of our service users or our end users or our clients. So there is no, I should choose my words carefully here. It is just unethical, and thank God we have done something on ethics to join a CPD activity because it's online and leave it and sometimes the meeting is ended, and once the organizer has not ended the meeting, you are still present in the meeting because you didn't really just participate in the meeting. If you are not going to be able to participate in a CPD activity, there is no point to even join, because it is not going to become beneficial to the service users or even for yourself if you are not going to listen to it. If all you are using the CPD for is to get a certificate or to pay for a certificate, that is highly unethical, and it really defeats the purpose of CPD and lifelong learning. Now, The third principle is that it should improve the quality of service. So once the quality of service improves, yes, the quality of service is critical. We cannot continue to do the same things. In fact, it is Einstein also who said it, that you cannot continue to do the same thing over and over and over again and expect different results. Now we have given our obese clients the same reduce calories, increase physical activity. Of course, these are standard recommendations. They are evidence-based. But the evidence is also suggesting that some of these obese people are actually at genetic predisposition, or there are some genetic components and genetic biomarkers that are making them obese. And so these generic recommendations that we give will work for some proportion of the population. But for some people, we may need to go beyond just the generic. So the person is just not losing the weight. We may need to go into genetic, sometimes nutrigenomics. Because that is where the evidence is moving into. So the point is that that improves the quality of your service. So you do the basic care, and then you realize that no, it is not giving the needed results. But because you are informed of new technologies and new evidence, you are more likely to enable or to encourage, or whichever word is necessary for your client to move to the next phase of assessment and even intervention. That is only when you yourself understand the science and the evidence, then the quality of service will improve. And of course, it has to be balanced. It has to be relevant to your area of practice. I want to say this, that once the AHPC CPD started, there was a time when the AHPC decided, and I will talk about it in the history, decided that this year, whether we like it or not, everybody must have a CPD point of 10 minimum. Of course, that was because of the history that we came where we're coming from. And then so some organizations just did one-time events and everybody got 10 points straight up. And unfortunately, for some of the, and even still, people attempt to do those kinds of things. So you go in, you get one activity, it gives you 10 points straight. And so once you got 10 points, your requirement for renewal is met, and then that is it. But that is really not the idea of, or the underpinning principles for CPD and lifelong learning. The underpinning principle truly is that what you are electing to involve yourself or to improve your knowledge on should be relevant to the people or the practice that you are doing immediately. So if you are in renal care or pediatric care, or in a setting where you provide a lot of care for geriatric, for old people, your CPDs and the part of your CPD activity should tailor towards providing improving your service for those people for whom your primary targets are. And that is how you build specialization, or you build expertise in that particular area. Then finally, what have I done? Okay. And then finally, your CPD or lifelong learning activities must be recorded. So documentation, recorded and in such a way that you can demonstrate to people what you have learned in your area and how much you've improved. So these are the 5 key principles. Number 1, you want to be responsible for your own learning. Number 2, you want to benefit, your learning should benefit the people, your service users. Number 3, you must aim at improving your service quality and quality delivery or service delivery. And number 4, you must also provide balanced and relevant training or knowledge. And then you must be able to document it. Okay, now all right. So what are some of the benefits of CPDs? I just listed a couple of them. There are so many of them. And one, it encourages a positive learning culture. So our profession is a profession of evidence. We say the name of the game is evidence. That's a cliche now. And the evidence comes when you understand how to find it and how to interpret it. And so when we are consciously doing these CPD activities with the 5 key principles or the core principles, we are looking at ensuring creating an environment where every practitioner is seeking to learn and to improve on learning. Now, and once you are improving on learning, your skills in practice, in research, in even work, even thinking, the ways of thinking would improve as well. Then, of course, you begin to as you continue to do that, you begin to have a body of knowledge that makes you stand out in your area of practice. And that is how you distinguish yourself from other health professionals. And that is how you feel the value, because then imagine that you are in a world round situation, or you are in a meeting with at a regional level or the district health level, and everybody is talking about something, and then we are not too sure, but because you have been exposed to that knowledge, you're able to, perhaps it is this. Can we explore that? And it turns out that your suggestion is what it truly is. You will feel confident in your skill. You feel motivated, and people will begin to value you. That is what CPDs and lifelong learning does for us. Now, in addition to that, it ensures that our career begins to develop. Now, this career development also goes along with there are a few structures that support that, and I admit we are in the process of building them, including memberships and fellowships of professional postgraduate colleges. But even without that, the CPDs is demonstrated by how you shape your professional goals. So I know people who over time have in fact, amongst us, and some of us of them are in this meeting, who have built capacity in special areas of nutrition and or dietetics, so that so that when you are looking for somebody in sports, for example, somebody with a background in nutrition in sports, it is almost easy at present to determine or to name the people who have done a lot of work, who have done a lot of stuff, a lot of learning in sports nutrition. And I'm happy to announce that one of our members is part of the Black Star technical team as a nutritionist, as a dietitian. So at least we know that our Black Stars are eating well because there's a professional in charge, somebody who has built capacity. That is what I want to. That's a career path. Now, then it makes you to be able to drive change, because then when you are speaking to change, you are speaking to specific knowledge, specific evidence. And once you are speaking with evidence, usually people would respond, positively. Now, then you can practice your work well. That is given, and of course you know the limits of your scope of work, and you'll be able to understand what you can and cannot do in the codes of conduct. Now, then it helps you to keep up to date with changing technology. In fact, today we are having this CPD virtually. In the past, we may not have even considered it, but today technology has made it possible for us to do it right. So if you don't learn how to use the computer and Zoom and emails, you'll be far behind, because there are several things you will not really get. Now, a few more, I may not go through all of them, but it improves experience and outcomes. It improves the quality of service. It improves our performance. It improves satisfaction with service. So patients come to you and they can leave satisfied, because sometimes the underlying challenge of the client is something that you may have that the client may not be able to place a finger on, but based on the body of knowledge and the body of evidence that is based on it, as a function of your participation in continuous learning, you are able to suggest and explore that. And then even for somebody who is not expecting I mean, I've seen so many dietitians or so many nutritionists, they couldn't help me. But then he sees you who understands who have come to an understanding of that condition based on the depth of your knowledge. You can easily identify and satisfy that client and keep a very well satisfied customer for a very long time to come. All right. And of course, it helps us to contribute to the evidence that we need for our services. Now, I want to shift on and do a little story, a little history. And sometimes it's good to know where we have come from and then where we are, so that when we talk about where we are going, it becomes easier to follow. So before 2017 or thereabout, we really didn't require CPD points because, number one, the council, particularly before 2013, did not exist. So we are all, I mean, the only reason why you are a nutritionist or a dietitian is simply because, number one, you have a certificate in either one of them, and you have been employed in a facility, or you hold yourself as same based on your certificate. So that is how come even now there are people who will continue to call themselves nutritionists because they are still living in that era where they've not come to the appreciation that there is regulation guiding the practice. Now, so then we move on from there, and around 2017, the task force that had become the Allied Health Professionals Council decided that, look, if we want to wait for everything to be settled, we may never institute this continuous professional development program or requirement. But it is actually mandated by the law, by the Health Professions Regulatory Bodies Act 2013, Act 875. So if we are going to do it, then this is the time to do it. Let's start. So like I said earlier, so in the year that the Allied Health Professions decided to start, everybody, they allowed for one-off events that became straight 10 points. Now, globally, in fact, as far as I have searched, 10 points is about the least requirement in any country I've come across for a professional. I'm putting that on record. I'm saying that a requirement of 10 points is about the least you can find. It was the least at least the ones I found across, I have yet to find any country that requires anything lower than 10 points. Most of them are even 30 and above. Now, then around 2018, the 10 points became like the people didn't understand why we should do 10 points. Why should I go and pay money to the bank and walk to wherever and go just so that they can write my name in a book? Or those were implementing difficulties. Now until employers, because by law it is stated in the law that the Allied Health Professional Councils has the right to set determine what you need to do yearly to remain a member or a professional in good standing. And one of the things to do is the PIN renewal. So you need to renew your PIN before the 31st of December of each year. That is what the law says. And the council has a responsibility to publish this list, a list of members in good standing by the 31st of January in the new year. So that list is published in the Gazette. Now, then eventually it got generally accepted. So in other words, we were all people were beginning to understand that without the CPD points, you are not going in, you may not even be promoted, because then the promoting agencies or authorities were looking at the law and were demanding the CPD points. So for many of us, the reason why we do the CPD points is only because when we do it and it's time for promotion, we can add it to that we are members in good standing, and we can submit it for promotion. Even though that is one benefit, but that is really not the core benefit. So you may be undermining the value of continuous learning if all you did was to use your renewal just for the purposes of getting promotion. Now, but that was not all this. It was not as if the 10 points was a perfect system. As professional bodies, we had concerns with the way it was implemented. What it meant was that, for example, it meant at the time, you needed to have been in a physical meeting at all costs, in what we call a structured formal activity, before the Allied Health Professions Council would even admit it. And then besides that, you also needed to have paid for the CPD activity, and you needed to have how do I say it? Like the condition for the CPD for 10 points was actually quite limiting when we know that there are different modes of acquiring knowledge. Now, so basically the council at the time was limiting CPD points to seminars, workshops, and conferences, basically, organized by identified groups, including professional bodies. Now, in addition to that, they were actually open about where you got it. What I'm saying is different. They didn't really place emphasis on the content of what you are providing as CPD certificate or as CPD points. In other words, once you have provided a certificate that has 10 points on it, you have gotten the CPD points. And that is problematic. Like if you understand the principles that I've explained, it does not meet that requirement. So you have a situation where one person who is in nutrition has a 10 points from the lab, or 10 points from radiology, or 10 points from, unrelated activities. So we raised issues with that. Now, please listen to this aspect of the history very carefully, because that will inform why we are where we are today. So as leaders, we argued that there are different ways to get CPD points. There should be self-directed learning, which is a way of getting CPD points. I should be able to sit in the comfort of my room, scan the information available in the world because of the availability of internet, and decide that this particular learning event, which I have, is relevant to what I am doing now. Complete that course, show a proof of completing the course, and I should be able to submit that for CPD renewals. I should be able to put together the data I have in my clinic or in my office. Okay, I've collected so much routine data, and the routine data are rich sources of information for improving operational operational systems. So some of these things are operational research. Why are we have been doing this? We have this setting, in the public health nutrition setting, I've seen a lot of mothers come, and by the time their children are 3 months, their weight were doing well, but by the 3rd month or 4th month, the weight reduces significantly, or the children have a lot of diarrhea and related and vomiting and things like that. And by the time they come back to us, we are forced to put them into rehabilitation. Meanwhile, that mother was doing so well with exclusive breastfeeding. What happened? It's a problem you've identified, which you have, and you should be able to put that information together, look at the data you have collected, analyze it, and understand that, oh, perhaps at around 3 months to 4 months, they move on, they begin to introduce, for whatever reasons, formula feeding, which may be unnecessary, or they are giving a particular kind of feed, or there's a particular cultural activity that is done, which every child in that locality goes through. And so if you look at their growth patterns, there is some trend. That is information that we should not take for granted. So if you're able to experience that, and you put that together, and you put it into a write-up, and you're able to share that with the nutrition and dietetic family, or in a journal, in a publication, we should go, if what you have done is to add to knowledge. It should be, that is continuous knowledge. You have learned something by doing. And so it should also count as CPD activities. Now, when is that a question somebody's asking? Okay. Now
Go on, please.
Okay. Then, so we made the argument, and even that, even the point allocation was a problem. That was in fact, it still is, but at the time it was even worse, because then you are not too sure the criteria with which the council is allotting the points. When some people go with their activities, they get 10, they get 5, sometimes you can even get 20. I've seen one activity that is 20 points at a go. And when you look at the list of things, it's just a list of names and a list of topics, which they will do in 2 days. So we had problems with that. Now, then sometimes you even have some groups who have very beautiful programs with hands-on practical experience. And then when the points are located, is less than 5. So there was disparities in what constituted CPD points and how they were determined. So we had problems with that. So we made suggestions as the federation level. GAND contributed to those suggestions. So this is where the new guideline is emanating from. So we made suggestions to this document. That was sometime in 2018, entering into 2019. And so we're going back and forth with the council, trying to get the council to agree that we cannot continue to issue CPD points as 10 points. Even if it's still 10 points, it cannot be 10 points without adding in the other things, including participation in professional body activities. Look, it is you and I who make GAND. If you are not there and I am not there, GAND does not exist. GAND dies an automatic death. Now, all the professions that we sit back and we are, oh, they are doing so well, their members are so active. It is the activity of their members that keeps the professional body alive. So membership of a professional body is actually a professional activity. Now, beyond the membership, being a leader of a professional body at any level is also a professional activity. It takes a lot of skill. In fact, this is no longer just sitting in a meeting and hearing people talk to you. You are actually living and practicing. Now there are 3 ways to learn: the didactic, and the people learn by seeing, like as we are doing now. I'm talking, you are seeing the slides. But if you were doing, which I'm hoping that we'll do in the next few minutes, then the concept stays better, because the idea is for you to improve your knowledge. So at the end of the day of an activity, your knowledge should be better or should be higher at the end of it than it was when you originally started. So we had issues with that document. We made proposals. And then as we were going through these discussions, 2019 ending thereabouts, we entered into 2020, and then COVID set in. And when COVID set in, suddenly the council realized that they had not prepared for the COVID situation, as in how to ensure CPD points, because it is mandated by law. But they were not, even though it was mandated by law, they were not ready to ensure that all members of all practitioners and members of the council were able to get their minimum points. And so at that point, the council decided to go back to the proposals that we had initially proposed and look at it. And they realized that, oh, even webinars can be used as CPD points, because we had made proposals for that. And he had suggested that a webinar of 1 hour, in fact, the original proposal suggests that the amount of time you spend on that activity should culminate into the amount of CPD points that you accrue from there. So in other words, if you spend 1 hour on this activity, your CPD points should be equivalent 1 hour. So we are going to spend 2 hours on this activity, so our CPD points should be equivalent to 2 hours. So that's the basic concept across the world. Then when they looked at the proposals we had made before, they said, oh, webinars can be used. Oh, okay, now that was when Zoom became very popular. and teams. Okay, then in that year, 2020, all CPD activities were now Zooms and webinars because the council realized that they had to ensure members kept their 10 points minimum without necessarily interfering because we couldn't congregate. In fact, if you recollect, the head of state had a minimum of 25 people, a maximum of 25 people gathering at a place. At some point, it became a little more than 25, I think 100. At some point, it was allowable, but then you have to put in COVID measures and all that. So COVID suddenly made it possible for us to implement the proposals that the allied health professions had submitted to the council, except that the council decided to select aspects of the proposal and apply those aspects within the context of the pandemic. Then in 2022, the board of the council finally decided, okay, fine, we have tested components of the proposals. We have seen that it has helped us to circumvent the pandemic situation. Otherwise, allied health professionals could not have been able to renew their license legally. Okay, so now somewhere towards the end of the first quarter, they decided, okay, then in 2022, let's make the new guideline, which the people have already presented to us. Let's just approve it so that they can use it in this year for 2023. I don't know if you get this, if you get the background to this situation. So the proposals we have right now is actually emanating from the allied health professions ourselves, except that those are proposals. We're going back and forth on the terms of it. But COVID suddenly made the council realize that, oh, we could actually use components of it, and they used it. So in 2022, they decided without consultation at this point, because they felt we were bugging them already, and then decided that, okay, fine, we are going to slam. We have approved it in somewhere in February, or is it, and it's communicated somewhere in March. But when we look at the history, people will wait until the third and fourth quarter to start amassing their points to get their minimum 10 points. So even what we are even asking to do, some of the things, just membership of GAND will give them 4 points. So some of the things they can get it without. So let's insist that 2022 they will get 20 points. That's how we came to 20 points. Okay, I know there will be questions, but at least I'm giving you a background to why we are where we are. Now, of course, like I said, the professional bodies were not entirely made aware that the board was in the process of adopting the document. And so because we needed to prepare the minds of our members to the new guidelines before it took effect. We've made a case that if you now have agreed to accept it, that's fine. We are happy that you are going with our suggestions, but hold on, and let's apply the law in 2023. But some way, somehow, I will say the board, because that is a decision of the board, have insisted that no, it is going through 2022. So now it became their responsibility to go around the professional bodies and groups to help them understand how to get the 20 points with the new guidelines. And that's where we are now. And over the years, I just put this slide for you to understand that we have come far. We started with 125 CDs or so, even I think 115 or so, maybe before 2018. I don't remember the value in 2018, but I think it was lower. But then we have risen up to this year, we are renewing at 190 CDs. Next year is a little over 200 CDs. Now, so some way, somehow, it has a cost implication, and which we have been worried about as professional bodies. But what you should understand is that it is enshrined in the law. We must do it because it's in the law, and we also do it because it is part of our continuous professional learning requirement as professionals. Now, so when this new guideline came, we had proposed 3 categories. Now, and yes, I'm going to, at this point, many of the things I'm going to say are still discussions in progress, because at the time we made these proposals, we had not settled on some of the of the nitty-gritties. We still have not defined some of the I'll explain why. Now, but at least we know that half of the 20 points for professionals. So it's only professionals, people who have degree and above, who need 20 points. Those who have a diploma need 15, and those who have certificates need 10 points. Now, but at least half of your requirements, which is 10 points, must be profession-specific topics. So you cannot go and do like in the past, and I've already highlighted that challenge. You cannot go and pick a training from audiology and then present it as a profession-specific topics, unless you can demonstrate that that audiology course is related to what you are your current practice, and therefore it is relevant to ensuring that you are providing better care to your clients. But as far as the science of health is concerned, audiology and audiological procedures are significantly different from nutrition and the gut, because they have different systems. Then the second category is quality and safety issues. So you need to be able to know things that relate to how to ensure high quality service. And then the third category is the educational experiences. So these are the three categories we proposed. Now, 30% is coming from category B, and then 20% from category C. Good. At this point, I'm just reading what is in the guidelines that was shared. So in category A, which is the profession-specific ones, it relates directly to an individual professional practice area, specialization, and or sub-specialization. So the moment we begin to improve, and that is where I'm praying and hoping and wishing that dietetics gets to, or nutrition gets to, in the shortest possible time. Once we fully define a specialization in kidney, and how people can secure specialization in kidney, in renal dietetics or nutrition, and you choose to go that route, your CPDs, which are profession specific, must relate necessarily to that specialization, and even that sub-specialization. Of course, you can come to the general space of dietetics or nutrition, but then the bulk of your training must be in that sub-specialization. And then, of course, it can come with structured courses, as in going through formal schools and going through, sitting through workshops and things and webinars, and also having practical hands-on sessions. Now, so example, these are just general examples. So for people who are in childcare or pediatrics, complementary feeding is a specialized topic. We must, or even lactational management. It's a specialized topic that when you say that I'm in pediatrics, or I'm a dietitian or nutritionist, and I work with children, the bulk of my clientele is children, and I see lactational management, I know that you are building capacity in your area. Now, then if you are in the surgical wards, and there's a lot of bariatric surgery happening, you should be building capacity in how to feed those people. Now, and if, for example, of course, we all do, this is basic, so it applies to all of us. So nutrition assessment is a basic skill for all nutritionists and dietitians. But over time, before we're using those skills that you have to be moving metals across, how do we call them? I don't remember the name now. You have to move two blocks of metals until it balances, the balances. And then you now read the skill. Today we are using digital, while the person sounds, you just copy and write. Now, but if we move on to MRI, which we may not get to, but if we are moving on to DEXA or the absorption spectrometry, if that technology becomes available in our context, you should by necessity seek to build capacity on how to use it and how to apply it in your context, particularly when it is available within your practice space. Now, I mean, there are more. If you have more suggestions of such, feel free to write it in the chat. We can look at them and we can place them. Now, then the second category is the equality and safety practices category. So this is where you are basically protecting yourself as an individual first, number one. So in the past 3 weeks or so, many of the CPD activities that we have done is aiming at building your safety and quality practices. So we look at autonomy. You need to know that the client has autonomy. You also have autonomy. You look at beneficence. You must do no harm. You look at justice. So those are concepts. So health law and ethics is another category. Now we work in environments where infection is abundant. So if infection is abundant, we should be able to provide basic infection control. So one of the things that we should be looking at going for is how to, I mean, the standard of, operating systems for infection control, we must know it. So that is this category. And then of course, CPR, you are a health worker. In fact, in many communities, people don't know the difference between a doctor and a dietitian or a nutritionist because we all wear white coats. So if you get into an accident situation, the basic thing, or somebody you are by the beach or by a pool and somebody accidentally drowns in the water and they manage to pull the person out, as a health worker, you should be able to resuscitate the person basic. So that is why the quality and safety processes come in. Of course, we are not fire service men, but we should know how to operate the fire extinguisher. So a training in fire, the use of fire extinguishers is relevant to you because in the health facility, anything will happen. You could be the closest person to the fire extinguisher, and something has set off. You should be able to because you have basic training in it, and of course, training is evidenced by the certification. So that is for the category B, which is the quality and safety. And there are the educational experiences. So this is where you are looking at preceptorship. So I remember in our last meeting, our AGM this year, there was a very interesting conversation around. I have a lot of students, I precept, and yet I don't get anything for it. Now, but the truth is that what we did was to propose it to be captured under category 3, or the educational experience. So you provide preceptorship, you get the certificate to prove that I was a preceptor for XYZ universities and students, and that counts as 20% of your CPD, required CPD points. So these are things you are doing at virtually no cost to you. Now, research, of course, you write a report, a very important. Now, of course, if you're writing reports, anytime you choose to apply any of these things, you must be able to provide evidence that you did it. So you write a news feature in the daily graphic, or in an editorial that is read in, or even read in the news or on live TV or something, or you give a health talk. You take track of each one of them, and you should, because these are contributions. You are providing education. You are either providing education or you are being educated. In either way, you are involved in education, and that counts as CPD points. So those are the 3 categories. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to leave us to an open conversation, and of course, just raise your hand. Also, would you want to guide who is raising the hand and all?
Yeah.
All right. So clinical, yes. Okay. I was just going to say that.
Go ahead.
For these ones, I just want us to see where we will place them. Is it category A, B, or C? Anybody? So for number 1, you can equally type in the. You can equally type in the chat. So number one, what do you think? Is it a category A, B, or C training activity? Can we use the
Can
voting?
we pick the pool and use that
Yes,
one?
the poll. Can we use the poll sessions? What's that one? Hello, Sofu. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. Can we use the poll feature?
Yes. Give me some time to create it.
Okay. So let's just, I mean, anybody wants to take a guess. Number one, clinical communication skills. Where do you think it plays? A, B, or C? Based on the explanations I've given so far, where would you place it? So these are regular CPD topics. I mean, these are random ones. I mean, there are several others we could use. I see that in the chat, people are going for A and some are for C. One is for B. It looks like the A's are getting the majority.
Okay, so I think we will go with that, right?
Yeah, we can go with that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So yes, I think that number one is a category A activity because it goes on your technical professional skills. Okay. Now, so look at it when you're looking at the categories. Look at it in terms of what it is meant to do. The A, B, or C is basically this. Maybe you should keep this page in your mind. So profession-specific topics, something that only professionals must and can do. Then quality and safety practices, which every health person must be able to do. And then educational experience are things that you as an individual are involved in or contribute to the body of science, the body of knowledge. So professional topics, everybody can sit together and do it. But it's only professionals in diet and nutrition who will do that. B, quality and safety. Everybody who happens to say he's a health worker must be able to know those ones. And C, as individuals, we take initiative to get that aspect done. Okay, all right. I hope I've clarified it enough. So let's see. Anybody else? And let's use time management. Number 4. Where do you think it will place? Right now, I'm not sure what you are voting for. So let's start voting again. Time management. Okay, somebody saying A. Yes, somebody raise their hand, please. Can we allow Derek to speak?
I think it's category C.
Okay, why? Do you have a reason for
that? Because it has to do with the personal time management. It's a personal something. It's not really related to the profession, only to the profession or to, it's not health specific. Time management it cuts across. So I think it's category C.
I agree with you. You. So let's try maybe entrepreneurial skills.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Time management, I also think is category B.
Okay, your reason. Would you want to share your reasons? Oh, feel free. I mean, there is no right or wrong answer. And in the end, it depends on how you use it. So can you explain why?
Yeah, my reason is that, yes, time management is about quality of work. So, if you are looking at waiting time, if you are not managing your time well, there will be long waiting time, and that will not translate into quality. So I'm looking at that. So, and I think it should be about B category.
But you know what the B category is, right?
Yes. So I also think time management should be B.
Quality. About quality.
It's quality.
I'm not sure who just spoke, so I'm a little lost.
Ernestina, how do you
I'm
Ernestina
sorry.
just spoke?
I don't see where I can raise my hand. Sorry, that's why.
No,
But I
it's
think
okay.
time management is also quality. It has to do with waiting time, keeping people not waiting, and that improves upon your quality. It's not a clinical skill. It's not an educational thing. It's something that you should have so that you provide quality service to your people. So I think time management is B.
I agree with you also. I actually agree with you also. So I've agreed with two different views, and I'll explain why. And anybody else? I see Derek's hand is still up. Derek, you want to talk? I mean, this is an open conversation because
I think Prince Abantu raised the hand. I don't know whether he has dropped it. Okay. So Derek.
Okay, please. I'm there.
okay.
Prince. Okay.
Okay, so I also agree with category B, the time management being on category B, just as RD and Estina said, with the quality service delivery. So even with case load management, or maybe the number of cases that you are supposed to attend to, if the individual manages the time well and then prioritizes the cases with regards to how severe each case is and which one they are supposed to attend to first, it will help provide a quality service. So I think time management should be at category B.
Okay, that is it is good. It's good explanations. Now I agree with both B and C because the definition of whether or not a particular training is B or C depends on the scope of the training. Is that clear? Now, so if you go and say that I did a course in time management, which relates to case load management, okay, that is a professional related skill or a health professional related skill, because no teacher will go and be talking about cases. We will only talk of time management. Do you understand that? I mean, but when you are looking at case load, it means you are talking about a health professional who needs to manage the cases that he or she is dealing with. And so then that becomes a professional related skill, which improves quality and safety. But if you go and do a course in time management, which even mechanics will do, or I don't mean that mechanics are not professionals, but if anybody can do, if maybe a footballer can also go and do a time management course, which is a general purpose time management program.
How to wake up on time, how to eat on time, how to attend meetings on time, like those things.
Yes.
It's for everybody.
You have done time management, but it is not a category B activity. If you're not even careful, with the original intent of the guidelines as it was developed, it may not even qualify. If you are talking about how you to sleep on time, it may even qualify to category C. But it may, for now, anything that is general and it impacts on your training, your education, will go into category C as an individual. But if it has to do with health practice, it is entering into category B. Okay. Now, I think the idea for me in this slide was to just demonstrate that the categories are not cast in stone. But especially for B and C, they are not exactly cast in stone, except for a few of them. So something like academic writing skills is a category C activity. So if you write papers, if you publish in journals, if you do presentations now, so I'm going to say around the presentation in conferences qualifies for 2 activities. So it depends on what we are looking. So if it's a presentation, as in a health talk, you are doing a category C activity. But if it's a research presentation, you are doing a category A activity. I don't know if you get it. So that is how there are some few technicalities there, but I think you get the point. Now, so the idea here, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and I'm going to pull up the guidelines. Let me the guidelines as we have it. Where are you? There you are. And I'm going to run us through the guidelines itself. Now, this is a big document. Next week, I'm aware that somebody from the council is going to be talking to us about this guideline. But for this discussion, I'm just going to run through a few of the activities or the activity that count as CPD points, just for us to place it under the categories, and then we will be able to inform and guide ourselves. So, for example, attendance, membership of a relevant, I hope you can see my screen. Please, can you see my screen? Hello, please, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see.
Yes, okay. We can see. Excellent. So membership of a relevant professional body is actually a profession-specific activity. Hello. So just being a member of a professional body is a profession-specific activity. You cannot, if you're not a member of the professional body, if you're not a member of the profession, you cannot be a member of the professional body. That's basically the bottom line. And by our statutes or by the protocols, you get 4 free points for being a member of a professional body in good standing. Just being a member in good standing. And in the context of GAND, what it just translates to is that you're a member who has filled your membership form, who has paid your dues up to date. Now, the good news is that starting this year, the council has accepted that because of this one activity, each professional body is going to issue certificates of membership, indicating the period of validity for each member in good standing. So you can just upload, once we submit your list or our list of members in good standing, and you go to your PIN renewal back office or back page, you should find that you are a member in good standing and you should get 4 points up. Now this is the part that I have issues with the council, or we still have issues with the council. The protocol says 4 points, and they put into bracket maximum. So what they suggest is that they can determine that you are a member, but your membership doesn't qualify for 4 points. So that is where we are still seeking clarification on. So how then do I know that if my name is on the list, I get 4 full points? But what we have agreed is that for membership, particularly, that was one of the things that we agreed in the recent action we had with the council, where we indicated that we're going to desist from working with them. So one of the things we've agreed, just being a member is 4 full points. So that one I can tell you on authority. Now, if you attend a conference of the profession, which is international, it doesn't have to, once it's an international conference, it can be in Ghana and still be international. Like the COND, you get up to 10 points. Now that is up to because of the scope of the conference. A one-day international conference doesn't have the same quality as a 5-day or 2 weeks international conference. So obviously you cannot say that because it is international conference, I get 10 points. No. Okay. So now what we need to clarify, again, at this point, like I said, the council is treading on very uncertain waters as yet. And even for us who proposed the thing, because then this is not the final version. No, the final version is not the part, it's not the one that we had actually had in full agreement with the council before it was passed for us to use. We still are seeking clarification on how they are implementing some parts. But yes, the concept was that if you attended an international conference and it is less than 3 days, you should get 5 points. If it's more than 3 days, you should get more than 5 points. If it's more than 5 days, you should get the maximum 10 points. So that is the concept. But then at this moment, I'm unable to confirm how the council is applying this this provision. Okay, now I want to, these ones are very important, I want to highlight them. So your attendance to association annual meetings. So annual meetings of associations are held here. Meetings, seminars, conferences, workshops, and things like that. So there are two levels of meetings. The national annual meeting. Is that a question? Okay. So the professional bodies annual meetings, which is a national one, is 5 points. Particularly because usually these at least are more than 3 days. Now, or at least 3 days. Then there is the second tier of these meetings. So the regional, or in our case, the zone meeting will give you about 3 points. Yeah, attendance to regional zone congresses is 3 points. So again, the duration. Now, like I explained earlier, the initial context was to say that a number of hours you spend on activity should take into the number of points that you get for that activity. But because the council has opted to use the old system where they give a flat points for activity, so they are scoring. There's somebody who is okay. So they are scoring that currently this guideline is scoring the activity based on the perception of its worth rather than the time involved in it. But over time, at least in this current year, we've noticed that the council is now beginning to respond to that. They are beginning to assign points, even though they are using the same flat system, but they are using according to the number of days that the activity is involved in. So if you are using, what if it's a 2 points, in fact, they are currently using a 2 points per day allocation, which we still have issues with, but at least it's better than the way they initially implemented it. So it's 2 points a day. So if you have a 3-day activity with at least 2 hours each, you are getting 6 points. But you see, getting the point is not the issue. The real issue is that at the end of the day, you should really be focusing on getting the knowledge that is shared in that activity. And what is missing in measuring that is the reflection that goes with the activity. And I'm sure many of us have participated in several online webinars of different international organizations. And you will know that even in some cases, in South Africa, for example, when you are done, you have to answer a set of 5 or 6 or 10 questions. That is how you prove that you participated in the thing and you understood the knowledge that was shared in that activity. In elsewhere, you have to actually fill an evaluation form and add a reflection. And that's how the organizers are able to prove that they have achieved knowledge impartation. So that is what is currently missing in our CPD makeup. But these are the points that you're looking at. I want to highlight a few other ones. So again, here a day's workshop, they said 3 points. If it's 5 hours or so. So right now, at least this year, they are not applying it critically, but that's the idea. And if it's less than 4 hours, it's 2 points. Because this document, like I said, it still needs clarification. Hopefully, when we meet the council's rep next week, they can be able to better explain how they have operationalized these points. Now, so we agree that, I have done several online trainings, several. Some are 1 hour, some are 2 weeks, some are 3 months. And at the end of the day, you get a certificate. It's self-directed learning. At the end of the day, the agreement or the suggestion has been that you should be able to do those things to supplement your points allocations. And these ones, it depends, again, the placement in categories depends on the quality or the content or the direction of the training you have had. It is not just that you've done an online activity, so you have done professional thing or you have done category C. No, it's the content that measures that. Okay. of this document that I really want to highlight is this part of authoring publications, because otherwise, then our whole existence as a profession may run into extinction until we are able to share homegrown, home-developed literature or data to support the things we do. We are going to always be depending on UK and the US and the WHO to determine for us whether or not complementary feeding should start at 6 months or 4 months or 5 months. Okay, or whether or not our energy requirement should be 2,000 or 3,000 or 1,008, or whether or not the BMI of a Ghanaian should be 24.9 or 27 or 30. Now, these are potential. I know they are very touchy issues. I chose them carefully, but these are arguments that we can make. Okay, so to encourage authorship or research in our practice, the proponents of this guideline suggested that, look, every practitioner, so if ID and Estina decides to put all her years of experience in renal nutrition dietetics together and write a paper, and she's the first author, she should get 5 points for each paper that she presents. So if you publish a paper, and publishing a paper includes publishing in peer-reviewed, we are talking of peer-reviewed journals. So, and GAND is working on producing its own peer-reviewed journals. In fact, nobody in America, unless the person is a Ghanaian, will be interested in the fufu and the banku that you and I eat. But you and I, there is a lot of research in fufu and banku that we have not yet done. Number one, we have not standardized the recipe for banku. So how do we know that? We say that a bowl of banku is about, a serving of banku is 1.5, 1.5 what? No, not 1.5. A quarter of a medium orange size. A serving of banku is a quarter of a medium orange size. Now, so that means 1 medium orange is 4 servings of banku. That is the current dietetic guideline for handy measures for banku. I was over Prince. Am I right?
Hello.
Am I right on that?
Please, I was distracted a bit.
So I was saying that a serving of banku is a quarter of a medium orange size, right?
Yes.
And then, so 1 medium orange is of banku is 4 servings of
4 servings. Yes.
of carbohydrates, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what we used to do that was some evidence. But you and I know that your banku and my banku are not equal. The same way your kenke and my kenke are not. Some kenke are soft, others are hard, others are a honey hole. So if we really want to do these estimations correctly, we need to go back and look at the recipe that is used to prepare kenke, including the amount of moisture in it. And we also have to go back and look at the ball and look at the different or grades of textures and look at the variations in them, so that we know that the kenke in Bukom, those days, if you buy kenke in Bukom, now I've not been there in a while, you know that if you eat one and you manage to eat one, then you were really hungry. But now, so this just say that the geographical variations in our foods also proposes challenges for how we interpret even the handy measures that we use in our practice. So if you look at that and you are able to, because of a very significant understanding of handy measures and how they are determined, you're able to put these together and write a paper, even if it's a team. At least the first author should get 5 points. The one who supports as a co-author. Now, co-author is anybody apart from the first author. You get 3 points, and then so. Sorry. Now, the way you show that you were part of the paper is to present the paper itself as your evidence. This is my paper. It was published in Ghana, the Ghana Journal, the Journal of the Ghana Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. So GAND is working on the journal so that we can publish Ghana-related food and dietetics and nutrition data. And once you're able to do that by our guidelines, you should be able to get credit for that. You don't necessarily need to sit through 5-8 hours of CPD points or CPD events, where you can do that in addition to even just your membership of GAND. Okay. Now, then, of course, somebody like, permit me to mention your name, ID Wise, constantly writes in a column in the Mirror. I think there's another channel, and he writes a book. Now, so it's not enough to write the book, to say that I've written a book in dietetics. You need to have it peer reviewed. So once the book is peer reviewed through an organized an organized peer review system, that book qualifies for 10 points by itself. So the year you write a book, you got 10 points. And that counts as professional because you are adding to the knowledge. You are doing a professional activity to the knowledge. Okay. Now, I may not be able to go through all of them, but if you have any specific ones you want me to respond to, I'm happy to do that. Okay. Then for those of us on the wards or in the clinics, you sit in a seminar in the facility. It is the argument we made is that it should not. Those are learning opportunities. You go on ward rounds, you will see a new case. Ideally, you should be able to write up the case for a case report or a case series, depending on which one is relevant. But if you cannot do that, but you are able to sit through and contribute to that seminar, you can prove that the new learning and the new knowledge that you have done in fora, in lectures, in a journal club. You should be able, a journal club typically will take a research paper and dissect it and dismantle it and look at it critically. And you are adding to knowledge. You have looked at the paper, you have looked at the flaws in the paper, look at the good side, and you have learned what is the message is and how to apply, translate into our practice. That is a very relevant thing, a relevant activity. You should be able to use this activity for CPD points. So that is what we proposed, and that means that you have 5 points maximum. So you can do a mix of all of these different things, but then when you put them together, the categories where they sit under should count to the minimum of 20 points. Now I will stop here, and I would have I stopped? I think I've stopped something.
Don't worry.
Okay, so just my last few slides, and then we can take the questions there in. So again, my recommendations are actually very, very simple. Oh, this numbering didn't go very well. You can easily get your 20 points by doing 3 things, just 3 key things. Number 1, being a member of GAND, you get 4 points. Being an executive of GAND, you get up to 3 points at any level. Okay, that is 7 points. Preparing and publishing journals, 5 points for each paper, and you can get up to 5 points maximum. So each year, if you do 1 paper, you get another 5. So 4 plus 3 is 7 plus 5 is what? 12. You precept students, and that should really be, in fact, as a matter of fact, it should be a race for professionals to want to be the ones to precept students, not the other way around, because you know that when you precept students, you are actually getting free points for impacting knowledge, and I dare say that you're also getting persons to support you in your current practice, because the interns and the students, you get to ask them, as you are teaching them to do things, you are actually extending or multiplying yourself through them, so that you can reach more people in a short file. So that alone is giving you another, the perception is about, I have to check, but it's about 5 points. So if you add that, you already have 17 points. Then you now decide on 1 or 2 special purpose CPD activities that will directly impact on the things that you do as a professional. And that is what I will add up to your 20 points. And I can say that it is not, the idea was to make it easy. In fact, even if you, and then you can also add if you want, even if you did 1 CPD activity, but then of course, we really want to encourage you to do more than 3 activities. In fact, that's the principle. You should be able to do at least 3 activities within the year and demonstrate that you have done these 3 activities such that the points accumulating from these 3 activities is 20 points. So so that you shouldn't be able to come with 1 certificate and that has all 20 points. So it is still an error if the council continues to issue points beyond the points that you need. Now, what it means is that, remember, even if you have 70 points in 1 given year, unfortunately, our law does not allow us to carry it over to the next year. So the law, the systems will only take the minimum 20. You are supposed to have minimum at least 20 points. So if you have more points, it's the better. Once you have more than 20 points, it's fine. In each new year, you start afresh for another 20 points. So for many of us, if we establish ourselves and we are doing this constantly, you would have the opportunity, we are constantly improving the knowledge around you, improving the knowledge of the profession, including the practice of the profession. And yet you probably may not spend beyond the amount you spend in attending, in being a good member of GAND and attending the GAND national event or GAND annual events, which is the conferences and the AGMs. So if you add that to it, you've already gotten more than enough points to do your registration without a lot of stress. Okay, so this is a sample of what the new system looks like. So this year, the suggestion of the council has been that you don't, in previous years, you have to upload your certificates. From this year, the suggestion is that the CPD providers will upload the list of attendees. And then the council would automatically update your back office, or your, I don't know why I keep saying back office, your PIN renewal office, I mean, online platform with those activities. So when you log in today, for every activity that your attendance has already been uploaded onto the system, it should automatically indicate how much points. So this person has already achieved 7, no, has not even achieved any point yet. The person needs 15, has not achieved any points yet because there's no point at all. And here in this category, there's no point at all. So that is how you see it in the platform. And this, once I'm sharing the slides, I'm just going to run through them. You can find this it's a YouTube link. But basically, what it is doing, what you need is a valid PIN. You need a valid email, which you would have used to register on the AHPC platform. You need a valid passport, and you need a password which only you should know. And then the picture, your picture should be in a red background. That's if you've not yet registered on the platform. But if you have, you can update this information. Now they are recommending the use of the national ID card instead of the other forms of cards. So if you have a national ID card, it's good to update it on the site. And then you put your institutional certificate as your master's or your first degree or a PhD or your the diploma or certificate. And then you update your CPD update information in all the 3 categories, which you typically come automatically once it has been submitted by the provider. And then you go on to look at the renewal status, look at whether it is, once you have met the minimum requirements, it will allow you to print your bill and then you can pay at the bank. That's the process for this year's renewal. In conclusion, I would like to say that CPD and lifelong learning is akin to this picture. It's for us to continuously work on ourselves. Usually that's the hardest thing in life to do. And so that we are better today than we are yesterday. And when we wake up tomorrow, we become better on that day than we are today. And that is what CPD is about. Let's desist from using it, focusing on just the points and the certificate, and also focus on the knowledge and the application of same for the benefit of our clients and our own self. And so that we can practice legally. Because if you fall short of the law, it is not funny. But one of the things that will be used against you is the evidence at the time of your crime, and that can be disastrous. All right. On that note, thank you very much for your attention, and I'm happy to listen to your questions and comments. God bless you. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Agodo. That was, I don't know whether we will have questions, but I think you have answered the questions in your presentations as well. But I've started seeing hands already, so be ready. Okay, so Timothy Dute, please, you can unmute and ask your question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, good evening to all our colleagues and
Good
the
evening.
presenters. Yeah, it has been a wonderful presentation. My concern goes to the CPDs we are talking about. I want us to also be looking at in the near future. Some of us who are working the district, for instance, this year I'm a nutrition officer, and I've trained health workers, community health nurses, midwives, clinicians on the IYCF, infants and young child feeding. We have trained them on anemia prevention and control. So all these things, we normally sign the logbook for them. But can't you also, like we can use 1 week for a particular training, and from 7, maybe 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So what does the council think about those type of trainings? Can it be added to your CPD achievement for the year as the training?
Right. So I think it's a straightforward answer. You just need to put together the proof that you provided the training. Okay?
Yes.
It is not enough to say I train people. You need to say that this is the proof that I train people. Okay? Now,
yes.
So, and it's a professional area, so it's okay if you are doing IYCF training. In fact, so many of you in the district level practice, you should be able to get this point rather easily. So anytime somebody is engaging you to do training, request for an official letter.
Okay.
Okay, that is, and then when you are done, make sure that you get maybe a confirmation that you have completed the training. Okay. Yes. So when you are done with these two things, there are two ways of the confirmation can come as a certificate of training, appreciation of training, or even another letter. And you put these two together and write a simple letter to the council and say, I did XYZ training for this year. Please review it for CPD points. Do you understand that?
Yes.
But you must be careful to remember that the fact that you have applied does not mean you get a point for each one of them, because there's a maximum you can accrue from that particular activity. You cannot do one activity. You must do several, at least 3 different activities. Are you okay? So your membership of GAND is one activity. Your training is a second activity. The attendance to GAND AGMs and congresses and conferences is another activity. Okay? So don't expect to get all your 20 points from the training today, and you will get the maximum possible points. In fact, this year I was involved in securing a CPD for a conference. It's an international conference. Typically, we should have gotten 10 points for it. But it was explained to me that look, even if you gave me all the 10 points, every 200 points, the council will only recognize 6 of the points, because we only count as professional, because that's a professional training program. You only take 6 out of the several points. So it doesn't make sense to go and invest all your effort in one area when you can only get
Okay.
a few points for them. Around said it.
Hello.
Okay, next question.
Yeah, thank you very much.
What's up? Maybe Timothy. Timothy, are you there? Would you want to talk now?
I'm okay.
Okay. All right, then Abdul Hafiz.
Okay, please, good afternoon again.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, I have a question concerning GAN and then the CPD points.
Okay.
So there are two categories. My first question about GAN is the membership registration. I just heard of it quite recently. So I tried registering on them online. So I was being directed to pay dues. So I want to ask, the payment, is it on monthly basis or is a year payment? Then
okay.
The CPD points. You know, some of us who are at the service, especially Ghana Health Service, they do organize some workshops for us. I know most of our colleagues in the service, like the nurses, as my colleague already mentioned, they have logbooks where they write this training and they're being signed, and that is being converted as a points for them when they are going to renew their pins. And if that could be added and maybe just not give it a limit, that way will be better, because in our situation, the workshops to accumulate your points is quite difficult. And also one thing I wanted to ask, whether the Allied Health Profession Council or the GAN, they regulate or they determine the amount of money those organizing workshop are supposed to charge with participants. Or no, because sometimes we can imagine you to attend a workshop, maybe for a single point or 2 points, and you need a minimum of 20 points, and maybe a workshop is about 100 cedis or 200 or 150. You can imagine the amount of money you'll be spending just to and the pin renewal too comes with a cost. So it's always a burden. And the last time I checked, the allied health professionals have not been given any professional development allowance. So it's always a problem for us. It's not that we don't want to renew our points, but the monetary issue is also a fact. And so the renewal of pins is quite, to me, compared to other professions, it's quite expensive.
I think I've gotten the crash.
Yes.
The point. But so let me try and answer them. I think you are mixing up so many things. Okay. Number one, you must understand that as a professional, it is your responsibility to ensure that you are learning continuously each day for the rest of your life. Once you decided to work as a nutritionist or to train as a nutritionist, it is your responsibility, not the state or your government or your employer. It is your responsibility. The employer rather has a responsibility to support you to do it. And for your information, the employer actually has the responsibility stated in our conditions of work of service to support you to attend CPD activities. We've always written, if you have difficulties, you can always write to GAND and request that they should write a letter for you. We've done it over time. There are members on this call who only wait for a letter from GAND, and once it's approved, we take it to we get approved. We even write to the Director General. He approves, he endorses it, and then our members just take a copy and go to their immediate bosses and say, look, the DG has endorsed it, so pay my transport and my accommodation and feeding and even the cost of the training. So it is a right. You understand that. It is not, it is that, you see, ignorance of the law is not an excuse. But ignorance and lack of knowledge is why you will perish. So you must know that you have a right, and your employer has a responsibility to ensure that you get professional training. If you don't request for it, they will not bother to get it for you.
Exactly.
That's what I was going to add. Yes.
That Ghana Health Service will pay your CPD fee for you, but they will never tell you.
Exactly.
You don't go to them and request for it, write a memo for it. Forget it. They will never mind you. So I think now we are going to have the CPD topics for the whole year before the year ends. So we can really write to Ghana Health Service and Ministry of Health to do the endorsement so that all of us, whether in the military or Ministry of Health or Ghana Health Service, will be able to or chat and use it. Yes, can use it to be able to get our funding. And please, if all members, Vice P, if all members were paying our dues in full, I don't think CPD charges will be that high.
I know.
Sometimes,
right?
Because the professional organizations, they also need money to run. So if we are well funded by our dues and all those things, you will see that when the management governing board sits, they will not set the rate of CPDs too high. So let's all of us help ourselves to help our organization. Thank you.
Yeah. You've just taken the wind out of my sail. I was going to add, let me just add to that. All the other professions that we are happy to use as examples, they didn't just get up one day and get something that applies to all their members. They organize themselves well enough. And once they organize themselves, their leadership have managed to use the resources that they get from dues to represent them and make a strong case that some of our colleague health workers, all the allowances that we will have to write and demand for is actually added to their salary from scratch. And I'm sure you know the people I'm talking about because they have demanded for it. It is the absence of a professional body to fight collective battles on our behalf is actually harming us than helping us. So that is why the GAND is formed. So what we need to do is to rally behind the GAND and make it a formidable association where when GAND says our members need CPD points and they need 20 points in a year, it costs 5,000. I can tell you, even if you have 5,000 or 100,000 people, the employer will find the money because they know I said right. Plus, if you don't attend some of these CPD events, you may never have heard what we just said, that your employer has a responsibility to ensure that you attend a CPD and they must pay for it, or they must contribute to it, if not exactly pay for everything. So that's what the benefits of participating in CPDs, and that's just how you can. It will reflect on you. Now, the other question you ask is, some of you, the council comes at a fee, renewal comes at a fee. Yes, renewal comes at a fee. I agree, but that is what the law says. The fact that we are not happy with it does not make it unlawful. So the law says that the council has a right to apply. In fact, the bills, the charges of the fees and charges of the council is approved by Parliament. So it is established by law. And so that you are not happy with it and you don't see the value of it is your decision. But understand that it's your personal responsibility. If not for COVID, the council started chasing after what we call quacks or quack professionals. Now, if at the time the council gets to your facility, you don't have a valid license, you are a trained quack, if there's any such phrase. You are trained, but you are still a quack. Because in that particular time, at the time that they came to you, you don't have a valid license. And it's only a person with a valid license that has the right to practice in any facility in Ghana, both private and public. So it is not that you like, then you will do it. You will do it because it is the law. And you don't want to be found on the wrong side of the law. After the other things about the price of CPDs, I think Osofo has already mentioned it. For us as GAND, we can even this particular CPD is free because we are conscious of our members' needs. But then it comes at a cost. Somebody must pay for the utilities that come together to make these CPDs possible. Sometimes we have to hire the service of resource persons, and they may not be within our fold. So in which case, it may come at a fee. We must be able to pay for it, and that comes from our resources. All right, thank you. I think ID Abbas, your hand is up.
Yeah, before Abbas comes in, I know Kenneth Tata is raising a valid point that some people are not working at the moment, and it is a toll on them. But their license, so they need to keep their license and renew. So he's asking that the GAND should work hard to be able to get them to have some work to do. Well taken. We'll take it in our strides. In fact, GAND has been moving up and down the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Finance for about a year now. We are still working on it. We haven't relented on our oars, okay, Kenneth? So please keep hope alive and keep your license active, because the day they will say we should send a list, if your license is not active, you will not be part of that list. Very, very important. Okay. Yeah. Well, as we next year, the CPDs, there will be opportunities for us to find ways of making money other than as we wait for employment. All those discussions will go on to help ourselves to be able to use our professional knowledge profitably. Thank you very much. Okay, Abbas, please, you can go ahead.
Let me just add to that before Abbas comes. Let's also consciously put our minds to this fact that employment in nutrition and dietetics is not only from the government. The employment also exists in private sector. And also you can also employ professionals as well. You can start your own, as an entrepreneur, start your own business. And that is all part of employment. So let's disabuse our minds of limiting employment to just the public sector. And if I collect correctly, the recent budget that was read, there is something around freezing of employment in the public sector. It's not something we want to be happy about, but we are working to ensure that we can get more people employed into the system. That we have always done. But if you are not licensed, and it happened last 2 years or so, we managed to create lobby for over 100 spaces for employment. And when push came to shove, only less than 80 people had valid licenses. So we lost more than 40 slots simply because the people who we fought for it for them, the people we acquired it for them, didn't have the license. So please don't let that happen to us again. Thank you.
Abbas.
Yeah. Good evening.
Yes, sir.
Thanks to the GAN team. You are doing a wonderful job. I just want to ask a brief question. What's keeping us so long from deducting the dues from source?
This question will be best answered by the finance team. I don't know if.
Yes, I think Ardi, the last time we discussed, I learned for controller to start deduction from source, there should be a minimum number. At the time we applied, I think we applied in the XYGDA, we didn't have that number. Now that we are together, I think we can pursue that route. I think they were looking for, is it minimum of 300 or 500, one of them?
500.
I think it was 500, yes. So that's why we have delayed until now. But I think now our numbers are hitting that region. And you see, it's not all of us that are also paid from controller. That is the issue. Some of our members are paid from the military fund and all those ones. So we are trying to get the minimum number so that we can initiate the process. I think it's a laudable suggestion.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. I think RD Enesina has a hand up. I don't know if it's a new one.
Yeah, Tina.
Yeah, hello. Good afternoon. Thank you for the presentation. I've learned a lot. So my question is that, I have a suggestion, our vice president.
Your voice is a little echoing. There's an echo. I don't know whether it's from my end.
No, because I'm talking from the car Bluetooth, I think so.
Oh,
but
okay.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
It's okay. It's manageable.
Okay. So with the allied health renewal, I know we are, until we stand firmly on our feet, we are learning from other countries, those who have been doing it for a while. So I think for the UK, the allied health renewal itself is every 2 years, not every year. Is the association, professional association affiliation that is yearly? Is it possible that we could have this allied health renewal thing every 2 years to reduce the burden of ending of the year, people going there and then all that, people from the north and all that? And that's my suggestion for you to think about and perhaps suggest to allied health.
Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. Why are we not doing it yet? Well, because currently our law doesn't see that.
No, I mean, so if you could push it, I'm not saying we should do it, but it's a suggestion.
Yes, we have raised that in the past, but with the roadblock had been that that is not what is in the law. So the law says, so then for now it is yearly. Until we get a chance, opportunity to change the law, and we may not be able to change it as yet. But it is something that we are consciously pursuing.
Yes, and to add to that, Percy, Tina, you see that the UK, the Allied Health AHPC right now is playing dual role. So like the UK, the Allied Health, you see that the professions have their credentialing bodies. So they can make that seamless arrangement where the registration is done by the professional bodies, and their credentialing wing does the licensing 2 yearly. But in our case, we are only doing the registration, and the licensing is still done by Allied Health. So I believe that with time, as we move on, when we have grown and we have, as you said earlier, we are actually well established, and we have our credentialing wing independently. Some of these could easily be done. And until then, I think we would have to make do with this. At least, as the last year, it's an improvement over the previous. But we believe that we'll get there very soon as you all come together to push it forward. Yeah.
Okay, so whilst you are mentioning UK, let me also tell you about other jurisdictions. In the US, it's not everybody who gets to renew their license in any given year. Because the numbers are so huge, they take about 10%, a fraction of the 10 to 30%, and then so they basically randomly send a fraction of the practitioners an email, and then those who will receive the emails for that given year are the ones who get to be evaluated. So every country and its different approaches, but yes, like we are saying, we have started from somewhere. It's a journey we have gone on to. At this point, this is what we have. We can only make it better, and then when we have our legs and feet firmly seated, we can be able to call, if possible, even a nutrition and dietetics council. It's a possibility. In which case, once we register with the GAND, which is the council, it's all part of the conversation that we have going for.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we don't have any more hand. Please, and I think we are 16 minutes after our time. I'll put the forms for attendance there. Those who haven't been able to fill it, please do fill, so that your name will be on the list for your CPD points. Also, I've also put two documents. The CPD call is a document to give you the template for your CPD suggestions for 2023. Please download them and follow the template as shown. And also, I've put the roadmap for induction. Our induction is 15th of December. We have some people, we have about 80 people who have filled it now. Please, if you know anybody who's yet to be inducted, that is, who have their license now from Ally Health, and but are yet to be inducted by GAND, dietitians or nutritionists, please inform them and forward the form to them, the form for the inductees. Also, for those that will be inducted, they will need to be full members. So if this year, if you look at the guideline or roadmap, this year is the this week up to the 30th is registration to be full members. Please go to the website. I'll put the link there. Go to the website and fill. Go to the website and fill the go to the website and fill the forms and fill the form as a full member. Then you are supposed to pay the appropriate dues. Okay, a month is 20 cedis. If you are a new member, you pay for the whole year, which is 240. The induction fee will also be announced. The induction will be virtual, but the fee will include your credential certificate, your customized lapel, and the postage. We'll post it by EMS to your office or your home. So it's very important. So we'll communicate the fee to you. So please go to our website and register if you are yet to register, and inform the rest of your colleagues who are yet to register as full members and also yet to receive their induction. Remember, if you are not inducted, you cannot be using the registered dietitian title or the registered nutritionist, right? But if you have your credential certificate, it gives you the backing to do so. Please. So let's do that, and let's make our academy great and strong. Dana's hand is up. Please, can you speak now?
Please, can you resend the form for us to fill for the CPD?
I just sent it. I just resent it.
On email or on this platform, please.
On this platform. Just roll up a bit.
Okay, okay.
I sent it at 4:16. About 4 minutes ago. So just roll up a bit, you see it, then you feel. Okay.
So there, sorry, let me just address a recurring question. Yeah. I think I mentioned it, but people are still asking. So if you do anything else that is not a certificate CPD activity, and you want the council to recognize it as a CPD for you because it's in the guidelines, just organize the evidence that you have, write a covering letter and indicate how, to the registrar. These are the activities I've done. These are the evidence attached. Please consider them for CPD points. So that one, you actually have to take personal responsibility for ensuring that the council recognizes those activities as CPD points. So you must write a letter. You can actually write an email and to the registrar at ahpc.gov.gh, and then they would assess the dossier and award the points appropriately, and then upload it on the system on your behalf. Now, remember that this time you are not the one uploading the certificate yourself. So if you don't do what is necessary for the council to track your learning, I think the goal is to track individuals, the learning of individuals. So you have to ensure that you write officially to them and say, I am RN so and so person. I have done XYZ activities, and I'm submitting this evidence for CPD points, and then that will be how it will go. And that applies to Collins, your question, and everybody else. And Ben, I think that's so. Preceptor, again, the same thing. If you have gotten the letter of precepting, so if somebody is engaging you as a preceptor, it's the same thing. Get the proof that you have been engaged as a preceptor. So it's not enough for you to just say that I've precepted. What is the proof that you have precepted? That's the first thing you must always consider. Then you just go through the process. All right, thank you.
Over. Okay. All right, thank you very much, Thank you all for, hey, Samriatu, please, I'm giving only 5 more minutes so that we don't have to go beyond 4:30. So Samriatu, please unmute and speak.
It's interesting that the interest is very high.
Yeah. Samriatu. Okay.
Yeah. Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, I've learned so much. Thank you so much for organizing this. My question is on the registration, becoming a member.
Yes.
When you go to the form, when you fill it towards the region of work, they're asking that you put in your region of work. So what happens to those that are not employed yet? What do we put there?
Put your region where you are staying.
So yes, so where you are, where you currently are.
Okay. Well,
so if you are in Accra or Tamale or Bono region, you state that region.
Oh, okay. Not necessarily where you are working. If you are unemployed, just the region.
The region where you are, yes.
Okay.
Because we may get somebody asking for a dietitian service or a nutritionist service in Bono region. Then we can just go to the form and find out you are there, and we recommend you. That's the purpose.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Okay, Collins. RD Collins. Is it an old hand or is still a new hand?
No, it's a new hand.
Okay.
Yes. So thanks to for the presentation, Mr. Percival. I think he has addressed my question partially, but I think maybe this is a concern more than a question. That the challenge is that sometimes you write to the council through the official email, you don't get feedback, etc. So you do a CPD rated activity, you compile all the evidence, you send to them, and the feedback is not prompt. It could impact on meeting the timeline for the registration, especially if an activity was undertaken close to the end of the year. So I was thinking that maybe during the registration process, the online system, maybe they could create a system where you could upload all the evidence, and then they can now rate it. The council will now rate it when they are considering the application. I think that may be more effective than people writing to the council throughout the year, and then the feedback, they may even get overwhelmed, and then the feedback not coming, and that may delay people from meeting the requirement during the registration process. So I'm thinking that during registration, they should create a system where you can upload all this evidence, and then they will rate it, okay, as part of their consideration of the application process. That's just my suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you for the suggestion. I want to make 2 comments. Number one, the suggestion is valid, but I think that let's look at the practicality of the suggestion again. That's what they were doing before. In December or towards the 31st of December, there are over 15,000 or so allied health professionals. Okay, and all of them, in fact, majority of us would wait until the very last week to start the renewal processes. So if all 20,000 or so people, or even half of that number, decide to upload independent activities, not related activities at all, on the 31st of December, what it means is that the council now has only 30 days or less in January, because by law, they must publish your name in the Gazette before on 31st of January. Okay. Anytime, any day after that, they actually pay a fine. They actually pay a fine as a regulatory council, because there is a process of gazetting. Okay. So practically for the council, and you and I know that the council is currently understaffed. If we want to continue what you are saying is what they were doing before. That's what they did last year. You just upload, and then as and when they deal with it. So then if they are not able to deal with all the numbers before the 30th or even maybe the 25th of January, it means that the council is going to have to pay fines by itself for failing to meet the law. So I am thinking that their approach rather is that instead of wait till December for everybody to now renew their start the process, They've opened the process in October. I'm sure you're aware. And they're actually saying that you shouldn't even wait till October to submit those off the hook trainings. Once your training is done, in fact, just go ahead and write to them. I admit the council has a challenge with communicating feedback back. But then at least they've tried to open up centers across the country. So in your case, if you send the email, it may also help to just take a stroll to the Kumasi office and also drop a copy, just so that you can get somebody in the office to take direct response. That is just being practical. They are understaffed. So that may help to get better feedback or feedback sooner than the traditional emails. But beyond that, let's also look at the practicality. Ideally, what you are saying is what it should be. Once you upload, there should be a team of people who are doing it constantly, but that is not very practical, particularly if you have a deadline to meet. So the idea is that do it across the year. So if you finish, if today, this activity is not an organized activity, in fact, even for us professional bodies, they are requesting for us to even do these preparations 3 months, in fact, even before the year starts. So they're actually requesting us to plan for the whole of 2023 before it is the end of November, so that they can prepare all of that down. And they are aware that GAND is going to do 10 activities in 2023. And then just so that it can make their work easier. So we are again, remember, we are just working together hand in hand to build a system. And we may just have to compromise on that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So, Hardy Collins, gradually, we'll get there. It's been tough. You know that even now, the council even responds better than three years ago. So gradually we'll get there. I'll give the last slot to Yusuf. Yusuf will be the last person. The remaining questions can flow in our official address, so that we can address them later. So Yusuf, please kindly speak.
Yeah, thank you very much, boss. I thank Vice P for the wonderful presentation. So mine is just a clarification that I want to seek on the induction. So let's say I registered with the association or with the academy last year. Am I part of the inductees? That is my first one. And then the second one is there any special arrangement for people who might want to register with the academy, but in one way or the other are financially not stable? So is there an arrangement for them to pay, let's say, half yearly, then they can make up?
Yeah, so for those cases, you must write to
the remainder.
You must write to us.
I think that's what I have.
Yes. So Yusuf, so you would have to, if you have any challenge for meeting the demands before induction, kindly write to the president of GAND through our email, the GAND email on our website, and we will consider it on case-by-case basis and get back to you. Okay.
I'm sorry, I had an income call, so I didn't get.
Yeah, so I'm saying that if you have any germane reason why you may not be able to meet all the financial obligations before induction, you can write to the president of GAND to ask for a leave, okay? And it will be considered on case-by-case basis, right? So we encourage everybody to pay, but if for a serious reason, you may not be able to meet the whole fee, please write to the president for a dispensation on your case. And number two, the first one, you were asking whether if we didn't credential you last year or last 2 years, whether you can join. Yes, the credentialing started, I think, 4 years ago. Okay. Now, if last 3 years, last 2 years, last year we couldn't do credential because of the COVID. So you can join. The credentialing is very important. Even the old practitioners, we are planning to regularize their RD status and their RN statuses with proper credential certificate. So, and also you get your lapel, GAND customized lapel with your name and your GAND number on it. So it's very important. We are doing all these things to make us very formidable professionals, very disciplined professionals, so that when we come out with our charges, all of you are asking, bring our charges, bring our charges. There are some few things you need to do, some background work we need to do. So when the charges come and we say, RDUC is charging this amount, they know the RD or RN we receive. They know who you are. And they know that GAND, they are serious people. And if this is what their charges are, they deserve it, or it's a good thing. So that's what we are doing. So please, if you couldn't get your credential last 2 years, you can join. Kindly register with a link, and we will induct you, and we'll take it from there. Is that clear, Lukman? Lukman, is that clear?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Right.
That's clear. Thank you very much for the response.
All right. All right. So thank you so much. Thank you all for joining. It's been a good time, and our apologies to those who couldn't join because we reached our 100. I think we did not activate the above 100 feature when we scheduled the meeting, because the average attendance has been below 100, but we will correct that. Now, please, if you know anybody who tried to join but could not join because we were 100, please let them send personal messages to the GAND official number, either on WhatsApp or on Telegram, so that we can see how we can send you the link to fill, or we send them the link to fill their names to get their CPD points. Thank you so much. God bless all of you, and God willing, next week, Ally Health representative will be here to take us through step by step what from their end they require that we do, and I think it will be helpful. So don't miss it. Let all of us be around, and we will learn a lot. Bye-bye. Until next week.
Yeah,
keep safe.
Thank you very much.
Keep tight.
Bye. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.